Thank you, Fran. Shabbat Shalom. Greetings to you all. It was great seeing my old friend Michael the other day. He will always be special to me. And it was certainly a busy week. And all the weeks now leading up to the High Holy Days are busy. And during this busyness, with kids going back to school and university people settling back down to work, as September often brings, I hope you all took a few moments to remember the tragedy of 9/11. A reminder that even in the 21st century of man, we know he's been around a lot longer than that, we must learn to accept each other and support each other and strive for the common greater good. And that's something we should be doing at all times. Don't preach love and spread hate. Don't talk equality and subjugate. Don't say yes and mean no. Think, say, and be honest to yourself and to the world. I say hi, you say low, you say why, and I say I don't know. Oh, no. You say goodbye, and I say hello. Now, as my good friend Michael was explaining to someone, if you love 60s music, you'll love my show. Do we ever get tired of hearing Beatles songs? Now, it's not just 9/11, but this week was also my daughter and my wife's birthday, and it's great that they have birthdays the same day. It means I can remember one less thing. And I know they both had fantastic birthdays, so happy birthday to you both. But I do remember things within our community. And friends, I know that we all hope Bob's chemo treatment went well. And we hope everyone everywhere gets the healing that they need, feels the energy they need to feel, feels the love. And so, for all in need of healing, remember that energy and spirit know no boundaries. For everyone everywhere, me, Shabbat, Avotenu, Makor HaBracha, Limotenu. May the source of strength who blessed the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Misha Berach, let's hope that all of us have our spirits renewed as we come upon a period of renewal for everyone, everywhere, because that's what the High Holy Days are about renewal. Now this week we once again have one of those parshas where the title does not do the piece justice. It is called Ki Tetzah, when you'll go out. But it has nothing to do with going out. Instead, it has everything to do with honor, with human decency, with respect, with love, with events of war, with pairings. And as a matter of fact, of the 613 mitzvot, 70 of them can be found contained within this parsha, but more than in any other parsha. And in this parsha, you will find the hardest question asked in the Bible. Now, most commentaries talk about the fact that there's 70 rules and regulations and laws in here. But nobody talks about the fact the hardest question is asked in the Bible. We'll talk about that later. Now, when teaching on this piece, I often talk more about the decency and humanity that must be shown to women during times of war. Now, that doesn't mean you can be indecent or inhumane the rest of the time, but it specifically deals with what was an unfortunate common ancient occurrence and refutes a modern idiotic statement that we have all heard and all used. All is fair in love and war. Why? Why is that time different? Special. An opportunity to make an allowance for normalcy. Should we not strive, my friends, to be aware, awake, true to ourselves, congruent, 24 hours a day? Should we be different people at different times? Should we have different ethics, different morals, different beliefs based on a series of circumstances, feelings, incidents, whims? Is it's just business really acceptable not just for business, but for life. Well, those are all important things to think about that are brought up in this week. Now, according to the Torah, not everything is fair in love or war. Last week's Torah portion spelled out certain laws of conduct for warfare. This week's Torah portion introduces the prospect of romance on the battlefield. A soldier in a heathen army would have no compunction over taking, raping, and disposing of a captive woman. Not so in the army of the Lord. The Torah acknowledges that the soldiers of a conquering army are likely to be tempted to take captive women, but it forbids acting on the impulse. Instead, the Torah demands that a captive woman be granted dignity, honor. She's to be allowed to mourn her parents. She's to be given the honor of marriage. She's not to be taken forcibly. She is to be married and given the status of a wife. She cannot be treated as a slave, nor can she be sold. Now, before the conquering soldier may consummate his desire and marry the woman, he has to allow her to mourn the loss of her family for a full month, during which period she grows her nails and shaves her head. And there's reasons for this. But the month of mourning is like a 30-day waiting period during which the man has time to reconsider his intentions. Hopefully it will prevent buyer's remorse. Does he really want to marry this weeping bald woman with the long fingernails? If at the end of the 30 days the man has decided he's not pleased with her and does not want to marry the woman after all, he is to let her go free. Now, the Torah's wisdom in this matter teaches us several principles that apply to every romantic relationship. A person should not rush into marriage. Love at first sight may not be real love, just a chemical reaction. Before committing to marriage, a person needs to take time to see past the spark that ignited the passion. These laws teach us to curb our natural desires and remember that the person we're so attracted to is another human being, not just a sex object. And notice, friends, the wording used in talking about the treatment of the woman is the same as used regarding the Egyptian slavery, and which will be used in a few weeks in the Yom Kippur service: degrading. Israel learns from its experience, right? And it keeps that forward. So it learned from its experience of enslavement what it's like to be enslaved. So it not only celebrates its own release, but it learns to have compassion for others as well. And that's a fantastic lesson that's built right into the teachings in the Torah, right? You know, it's all about learning to be who we are all the time. An underlying theme in this amazing series of laws and rules about how to behave is that your behavior does not get altered by circumstances. And so we're being told that one of the greatest goals you can achieve is to be congruent. You gotta be congruent. Conscious every hour of the day. You gotta be aligned within. Understanding all you have to say. Now that's from a song called Jacob's Ladder. It's by a local band, and that band's called Me 3, and I think they're a pretty good band. I like them a lot. Who you are is who you are. And you should attempt to be the best and highest you at all times. Not person A at one time, person B at another time. Be you. Now the Buddhists and now everybody else, because it is cool, call it mindfulness. I used to teach mindful meditation. I still do. And I've lectured in the past about the origins and development of Buddhism and its concept of karma and intention, and explained how parallel its development was to the development of the Jewish prayer system, which also was based entirely on intention. And believe it or not, it still is, even for those of you who do not realize it, especially when you're sitting through 5, 6, or 8 hour high holy day services. It's your intention that matters. Even if that's for 20 minutes only, you will accomplish as much, if not more. And for some people, 20 minutes is a long time. Anyhow, be you. And if nothing else, that's what you should learn to call your reality. Who you are is who you are. And while we're presented with this interesting mix of seemingly unconnected laws here, taken apart as a whole, It's a complex mixture of moral and ritual laws that also show how the Torah's different kinds of laws are interconnected. And that is fantastic and makes you think about everything that you read. And when you digest all that, one of the things you will see this week is something that has taken a very interesting twist, especially of late, because some have taken what is said this week as the Bible's view of transgender issues. Deuteronomy 22:5. There shall not be a man's item on a woman, and a man shall not wear a woman's garment, because everyone who does, this is an offensive thing of Adonai your God. Now, friends, when I grew up, I don't think anybody ever talked about transgender issues. They must have existed. Here it is. I'm not going to join in the debate. You can read any number of articles that argue the pros and cons of this. But this is another example of how a book written several thousand years ago is being examined to consider something relevant and at the forefront of today's issues. Yes, this is an organic book designed to examine issues in any and every era. Now, also, there's a fascinating concept of not putting unlike things together because it creates imbalance. And that's the word that's used, imbalance. And the example given is really a fantastic one. It's an ox and a donkey cannot plow together evenly and therefore should not be yoked together. Deuteronomy 22:10. You shall not plow with an ox and a donkey together. Well, you know what? In this case, the separation of the two kinds of beasts has a clear humanitarian motive. The smaller animal would suffer in this yoking. But friends, the meaning of this law and of all the other laws concerning mixtures has stymied scholars for centuries. And it has led to some other fascinating discussions. And believe it or not, this section is often quoted as being one of the key reasons there should be no intermarriage. Popular lore about love and marriage says opposites attract. Some agree, some disagree. And those that disagree use the Bible to back it up. The Torah says we are not to plow with an ox and a donkey yoked together. It says we're not to plant a field with two different types of seeds. It says we're not to make a garment out of two different types of linen and wool knit together. Well, for many, each of these commandments illustrates an important principle about relationships. Early Christianity interpreted the prohibition on yoking two different types of animals together metaphorically as a prohibition against partnering with an unbeliever. Do not be yoked together with unbelievers. For what partnership have righteousness and lawlessness? Or what fellowship has light with darkness? What is a believer in common with an unbeliever? Or what agreement has the temple of God with idols? Well, the world says that a person should marry whoever he or she falls in love with. For those same questioners, that's a bad plan, because it's possible to fall in love with the wrong person. See, to them there's right and wrong people, and they believe to marry someone of a different faith is to be unevenly yoked and therefore wrong. Well, friends, I encounter this all the time. And that's one of the reasons I've devoted most of my work as a rabbi to being of service to the turned away, the shunned, the interfaith community. I want to hold on to tradition, belief, practice, and who value love above all, the great law of laws. So let me go back to what I said earlier. This parsha contains the hardest question in the Bible, and we've skirted it in most of what we've talked about so far. It was in Deuteronomy 18:21. And if you'll say in your heart, how shall we know? Friends, how do you know? How do you know anything? How do you know who to listen to? How do you find out for yourself which way to turn? Or the steps you go through? Have you ever been convinced someone was right, only to decide later that they were not? How do you know? Well, as Bob Dylan said in Empire Burlesque, trust yourself. Trust yourself. Trust yourself to do the things that only you know best. Trust yourself. Trust yourself to do what's right and not be second guessed. Don't trust me to show you beauty when beauty may only turn to rust. If you need somebody you can trust, trust yourself. Trust yourself, my friends. You will get great advice. You will actually do what is to your highest and greatest good every single time. Now, whether you subsequently agree or not. And speaking of great advice, we get some of the best ignored advice you can ever get in this parsha in Deuteronomy 24:9. Remember what the Lord your God did to Miriam. You know, what the hell kind of great advice is that? Remember, friends, that was the Miriam with leprosy story that we talked about, but this is not about leprosy. This is about the cause of what took place. Life is a series of causes and effects. We act on what we think, on what we believe we know, and we talked about that incident. Miriam was punished, as Rashi even suggested, for slanderous gossip, lashon hora, evil language, a horrible curse that hurts three. Now, in sharp contrast to the adage about sticks and stones not hurting, Judaism looks very gravely upon the misuse of speech. Our tradition teaches that lashon hora can destroy many lives, even unintentionally in one fell swoop. And those three that it destroys being the person speaking. Although you may briefly become the center of attention when you dish out a juicy piece of gossip, in the long run, people start mistrusting you. I wonder what she says about me when I'm not around. People do not trust gossips and will avoid confiding in you. In the end, you're killing your own reputation. And gravely ignoring the sixth commandment, do not murder. You're killing yourself. In addition, due to your misusing the gift of speech, you may be diminishing yourself in the eyes of God. Second is the person spoken about. The person under discussion is, of course, being killed in everyone's eyes, whether the information is true or false. It's hard to take back defamatory words already spoken and to undo the character assassination already committed. The person's reputation may very well be forever blemished. The third is the person spoken to. Now, interestingly enough, this is the person who is the most culpable, even though he or she is seemingly the innocent one. All they did was listen. But the Talmud says that listening to lashon hora is even worse than speaking it. The person had the power to stop it, and they did not. Now the transgression is complete. Right? They didn't stop it. Heard it through the grapevine. Not much longer would you be mine. Ooh, heard it through the grapevine. And I'm just about to lose my mind. Honey, honey, yeah. People say believe half of what you see, son, and none of what you hear. I can't help being confused. If it's true, please tell me, dear. Heard it through the grapevines. Have we not all heard things through the grapevine? Is that not the same evil gossip, perhaps with a different name? So I ask you again, how do you know? If someone asks you why or how, do not say, I don't know. That's actually never a true answer. We always know. And we are coming into the season of soul searching, of questioning, of examining, of evaluating, of truth, of justice, of balance. Yes, the world is sacred, so is everything in it. Express your gratitude. Light a candle, my friends. Make a wish. Celebrate your life and the lives of those you love. Share your feelings with them. Live free, be free, honor your freedom. Be well, be happy, be blessed. Share and honor the light and all who live in the light and continue to shine. Continue to send everybody you know goodwill and love. Pray for peace and freedom for everyone. And end to terror and hatred. Remember, we are a community, my friends. We learn together, we celebrate each other, we love each other. We share this ride together, men and women equally. Let us send out love, not fear. Send out peace, harmony, good healing to all who need it. Please do. Learn to forgive, learn to love, open your hearts, honor the relationships of your life. Tell those you love that you love them. Take advantage of the time you have. take the twists and turns and the patterns that weave through the fabric of our lives in our effort to grow, to learn, to be, to love. So please do love. Send healing, goodwill, and love to all who need it. Share your honor and your holiness and your love with everybody you know. Bless you all. Have a fantastic week, a week of love and light, a week of peace and healing, for you to honor the people of your life, honor the journey you're on, honor yourselves. And friends, keep your eyes open to what you may not be seeing. Keep your ears open to what you may not be listening to. Right? The world is all around you. And remember, this is an organic book. The lessons, the laws, the ethics, the ritual changes with the times. It is how it stays current, relevant, new, meaningful, and continues to provide us with insight and with answers. And with this time of the year, leading into the period of personal review, we are supposed to think a little more about who we are, what we are, why we are. Well, I hope you all join us for the high holy days or holidays. Aruba, Jamaica. Ooh, I wanna take you to Bermuda, Bahama. Come on, pretty mama, Key Largo, Montego. Ooh, I wanna take her down to Kokomo. We'll get there fast and we'll take it slow. Okay, we'll not be in Kokomo. We will be wherever you actually are. And you will have a new and different High Holy Day experience. Do not stop your journey. Do not stop moving towards your promised land. It's in sight. Keep on dreaming, keep on being, keep sharing, keep shining, keep teaching. Keep spreading your holiness, my friends. Do not follow fear. Thank you all for joining me, for participating, for sharing your lives, your love, your time with me. I do appreciate it so much. I love you all, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. Be well until then. Shabbat Shalom. Take care. Bye.